I don't know. It just happens. But my later stuff, I feel like I'm kind of finally trying to. I'm finally hitting upon the right formula, just through practice. Here's another example of that using the perspective tool to just be able to quickly bang out city details. So yeah, there's a multitude of different. Am I? How's my time?
No. I was just going to ask.
Sure.
You know, you almost have. You're spending time learning this tool as well as creating your art. So how much time did you have to dedicate towards trying to learn this versus just going with something that you already know and that you're comfortable with? Because this could be time saver, but early on could be a time waster.
I hopped right into it. My first page that I did with this program went to print, and it was without any disruption to my schedule. It really was this massively liberating thing, and I think the time that I saved not having to go through some of those preliminary steps physically through printing and scanning, I think it made up. This was the first page I ever did in Manga Studio, and I remember being incredibly happy with some of the little things I found in the program that were suddenly at my disposal. Yeah, like you could do things like here, there's like behind this railing, you can see that there's the direction of the wood behind the railing.
Yeah.
So like with a regular drawing, you'd have to be halting, with each stroke, but I would just grab the selection tool in Manga Studio, mask off those rails, and then I would just like rock and roll behind it. And like that's something you can't do on a real page unless you want to sit there with tape and then have it like pull up bits of your paper. Yeah, and like, there are places where I will only draw a background once, and I just snag it, drag it over. But yeah, I was just having a lot of fun with the program. I was kind of like, this is really liberating and really freeing. And this was when I was just going through with one pass. I wasn't doing a lot of corrections. Like if I laid a line down, I'd kind of leave it. And later on, I found that you could really edit. This stuff's about 2 years old. In the most recent thing that I did was for a Dark Horse Presents short story. I just finished it about a month ago, and it's inked all digitally. And you can see, like, versus that other stuff, that it's more refined and solid, but it's spontaneous where I want it to be. I mean, can you guys see the difference?
This is for the Goon, isn't it?
Yeah. It just finished this. It just went up on Dark Horse like
Cool.
a couple weeks ago. So
This is after 2 years?
yeah, about 2 years working with the program. And also the Chuck covers floating around. Those are a little more recent, and they're much more refined as well. But like I'm finding where I want to kind of, use the fine details versus the thick ones, as opposed to just kind of rocking and rolling all over the place. I mean, this is a more cartoony story, so my style hasn't inherently gotten more cartoony. It's just this was a story that, if anyone's familiar with the Goon, it's not, the real world. It's a bizarre kind of 1930s kind of weird amalgam of like old detective movies and monster movies and stuff. So, but yeah, really nothing to comment on about why digital was the way to go really anymore, because I'm so married to it. It's just kind of become a lot more natural for me. And I feel like I'm able to use, I'm kind of controlling it and it's not controlling me. And at the moment, I'll go ahead and hop into what I'm doing right now. I'm doing this book called 99 Days, which is for Vertigo, and it's going to be an original graphic novel. It's about 175 pages. I've still got a bit to go on it, as my friends know, and I often say. But yeah, it's kind of a LA crime noir story. set against the backdrop of, well, told in flashbacks is some of the story of the Rwandan genocide. Our main character here, he was a former child soldier, and now he is a police officer in Los Angeles modern day. So the story kind of cuts back and forth between Kigali in 1993 or 4 and LA now. I'll pull up in Photoshop some of the finished pages of this. But yeah, so to do one of these pages, I start out with a rough composition. That this is when I described how I used to draw small and then print it out in Photoshop onto pieces of paper. Yeah, there's a bunch of layers because you can do that, and it kind of helps you delineate your areas of focus while you work. So like this is my rough, and you know it's not missing any information. I just take a pass refining it in Manga Studio. But these were drawn in Photoshop actually, and the reason why I have to take a second pass at it in Manga Studio is because, you know, it's you know, you can't print that in a comic book, you know, but you can sure print, you know, that. So that's why I use this program, just because it allows me to really control and get a really nice look, a nice edge. And you see, like, you know, I don't have to put things where they're drawn, and I can kind of because I'm in essence drawing it twice. You know, I can make corrections, like her torso was too long and her head was too big, and same for him. And I just kind of draw on the fly for like what I think is going to be the most correct look. And I pulled these pages up not just because I was working on them this morning and they were already open, but because this kind of showcases a little bit of everything, a lot of perspective, backgrounds, a little delineated field here with the color. Like when I went ahead and drew this background here, I went ahead and just drew it at a 60% opacity. And it gave me a feel for the atmospheric perspective that I want to achieve in the final page. You can see, okay, here I drew this background right here. This is one layer. And then over here, I carried it over. But then I took a second swipe at it, and see there's like details and some structure here because we're closer up that, you know, was not present here, because no one's going to see that. It's going to be probably word balloons over it. Doesn't matter. It's just purely background information. One nice thing about Manga Studio that I just really appreciate and comes in handy is see like these telephone poles here. You have tools like, you know, it's like whatever. Whereas you'd have to like sit with a French curve and like make that perfect. And if I'm like, hey, I don't like the way that looks, like for instance, like, you know, oh no, I curved it the wrong way. Oh, here, let's just curve it that way. You know? So I mean, like there's all these things you can do, and the beauty of it and why it's so much better than Photoshop is just like here I'll show you, like this is how the brushes react, you know, and you can see like I can get a line like that, I can get a line like that without touching a thing. My settings for my diameter of the brushes are right here. So you know, like if you've got your, like any artist with supplies, you've got your bin of like, you know, here's my .00 whatever, my .00 whatever, you know, my 6 different brushes that all have a different size to them. You know, I changed my brush sizes right here. And then here's my little bank of brushes, like this one, well this one, I like this one a lot. This one has